Let's move on to Group C, where I've titled it Low Level, New Coaches, and Endless Possibilities. We've got FC Dallas, we've got Juarez, and we've got St. Louis. Connor, talk to me about locations, signings, all the good stuff.
Sure. So St. Louis versus Dallas is going to take place at City Park in St. Louis. Dallas versus Juarez. I don't know why I put so much emphasis on the Juarez. Is going to be played in Toyota Stadium in Dallas. And then St. Louis versus Juarez is going to be played in City Park in St. Louis. So two home games for St. Louis, one for Dallas, zero for Juarez. In terms of new signings, in winter 2024, we had talked about a couple of these for the MLS size, but just a refresher, or if anybody is listening from the League MX side and hasn't been following MLS, Dallas brought in Pitar Musa from Benfica in a big money signing at striker. For Juarez, a little bit tougher to find big signings, but I've gone for the former MLS man Jairo Torres from Chicago. And then for St. Louis, I've gone for Thomas Totland from Haken, who has been playing a bunch for them so far this season. Maybe that's not a good thing considering where St. Louis is in the standings. For summer 2024 signings, Dallas hasn't had any big signings this summer so far. For Juarez, a little bit tough again, like not anybody that's a household name, but I've gone for Ralph Orguin, who is an American actually, came over from Club America and has played pretty well so far for Juarez. And then for St. Louis, we had talked about it in a previous episode, but Marcel Hartel coming over from another team with a Saint in the name, FC St. Pauli.
Very nice. I think it's a lot of new faces, a lot of people to keep an eye on. Let's start with Dallas. FC Dallas, another MLS side that has parted ways with their head coach, Peter Luchin is the man in charge for now, as Dallas have been on a bit of a good run as of late. Another side with a ton of injuries, and Jesus Ferreira, Alan Velasco, Paxton Pomykal, Liam Frazier, Giovanni Jesus. I mean, there's not a ton to pick from. You know, they're currently in 11th place, but they have won their last two with a 5 goals for, 1 goal against clip. They did make a heck of a run in Leagues Cup last year, and then they ran into this script called Messi. And once they paid off Marco Farfan to score on his own goal so that Messi could get his fairy tale, they were knocked out. So talk to me about players to watch for you.
So for Dallas, I've gone for Mendy. I think.
Mendy, speak it Spanish.
Sorry.
You took that class.
I did take that class for a number of years.
I'm telling your teachers, your professors, if you will.
A lot of similar reasons to Canales. I mean, a guy who has spent a lot of his career over in Spain, a lot of time with Real Sociedad, and he played for Real Madrid. Look at that. I remembered to mention it this time. And he actually played for them on like 200 minutes with Canales. Came over last season, I think, in the winter transfer window. Nope, summer transfer window. So got about half a season in. This year has been first full year with Dallas, and I think he's done a pretty good job so far. 2 goals, 3 assists. Obviously played a little bit deeper in the midfield, so not going to rack up a ton of goals and assists, but I think he's a really key piece to unlocking the Dallas attack. And so I'll be keeping an eye on him and what he could bring to the table with that plethora of Spanish experience.
So what you're telling me is you're a Euro snob, and basically, if you played in Europe, you're on the player to watch list.
I mean, you told me that I just picked players for big signings because they played in MLS before. So what is it? Pick your agenda.
My agenda is whatever I clip it up to be, because people watch the clips. They don't even watch the full thing. So if I paint you as a Euro snob, you're a Euro snob. It's the power of editing on current day social media.
Just let me know. I will go full force into the Euro snob.
For me, I actually went with a youth player, Logan Farrington. He's a youth attacker for Dallas, and he's been mainly a sub in the early part of this year, but more recently as a starter. He's on fire right now with a goal and 2 assists in his last 3 games and 2 goals, 4 assists in his last 7. Peter Musa is the focus of this attack, but Farrington is a really good change of pace for him. He's coming into his own really well, and I actually watched him play a little bit during the rain delay on Wednesday, and I watched a little bit of the Dallas game, and he looked really good. So I'm going to keep an eye on him, see what he can develop into. All right,
Good shout.
let's move on then to Juarez. We'll go back to Liga MX here, a perennial bottom half of Liga MX team. They sit 15th in the Apertura right now and finished 12th in the Clausura last season. Brazilian Mauricio Barbieri is in his first year in charge of the side and has an interesting cast of players to work with. Last year, they did get out of that group against Austin, as we mentioned, before they got absolutely walked by LAFC 7-1 in the next round. Talk about some players that you're interested in.
I went with Angel Zalvidar.
Ooh.
He is a career Liga MX player who hasn't had a ton of full seasons getting a ton of game time. His most consistent game time season came back in 2016, 2017 when he was 22 years old playing for fourth place Chivas, where he got 2,300 minutes and 12 goal contributions. Outside of that, it's been pretty hit or miss on how much game time he's gotten. He's bounced around a bunch of teams like Chivas and Monterrey and Puebla and San Luis. And now he's at Juarez. He was there he played about 700 minutes last season. But so far this season, it's been a better start for him. He started all 3 games, played almost every minute, and he's got 2 goals to show for it so far. So I'll be keeping an eye on to see if he can continue that form and maybe he can finally find a home here in Juarez.
Very interesting. So I mentioned it was an interesting squad, and that's because it's full of former MLS players. I wanted to say Jairo Torres for the memes, but my player to watch is going to be former MLS center back Francisco Calvo. And that's because this Juarez team, in case you didn't pick up, is playing with Jairo freaking Torres in attack, the man who hasn't had a goal contribution in like 3 years. They're going to need to be so defensively strong to stand half a chance to get out of this group with Jairo Torres playing in an attacking role. So I'm very interested to see how he organizes that defense and how he is able to keep players like Petar Musa, for example, off of the scoreboard.
You know who else they have on their team?
No.
Jonathan Gonzalez.
Oh, God. Snake. Snake. Let's finish up the group then with St. Louis, another MLS side with a new coach. Maybe not a new coach, but an interim coach. And a few big names on the way in, and they will need them. As interim head coach, John Hackworth takes an injury-riddled side to the League's Cup with hopes to advance out of the group for the first time. St. Louis is currently sitting next to bottom in the West and are 8 points out of the playoffs. Who are you keeping an eye on?
I've gone for the man that we've talked about this episode and in the past. I've gone for Marcel Hartel. I did not check if he's for sure going to be playing in the League's Cup. I would assume he would be playing in League's Cup, but we talked about what he was able to accomplish at St. Pauli, getting them promoted and having a huge contribution with that team. He's coming over with the designated players price tag. I want to see if he's going to be able to live up to it. I know there's going to be people who look at this move and say you're bringing in a designated player from the second Bundesliga and already question him from the start. So I want to see if he can prove them wrong with a hot start in League's Cup.
Very good. I also had Hartel, but I will pivot and go to Cedric Touchard, who is going to be coming into an attacking group that is joint second worst goal scoring in the West on 31 goals. They are even with San Jose. They are even with Houston, and they are only better than Austin. So obviously needing help in the attack, and that comes from a whole bunch of different places, but they've got Hartel behind them, and Touchard may just be a step in the right direction for them. So definitely somebody that I'm going to watch. But what I am more interested in is your predictions, because I think we definitely have different ones here. We have to.
Yeah, probably. I have gone for Dallas at 1, riding their streak of better performances. I'm going to go St. Louis at 2. I think Hartel comes in and has a great impact with them. And I'm going to go with Juarez at 3. I just don't think they have enough in that team to get out of this group.
So I also am banking on the fact that Hartel and Touchard are going to be a really good addition from the start. So good, in fact, that St. Louis finishes first, Dallas finishes second, and Juarez finishes third. I think they are going to ride a similar vibe to Miami last year. Obviously not with the same level of players, but you have those players come in and you get a little bit of a boost and you're like, oh, this is, we might be able to do something. They could go on a decent run here with those players.
Yeah, that's a good shout. Plus they have the double home game. So
that's right.